Welcome back to another Doctor Who product review. To take a look at another recent merchandise release. This time around it is the complete collection of Season 12 adventures. Of course, the first ever season to feature Tom Baker as the 4th Doctor that originally aired on BBC One in 1975. For quite a few years now, Doctor Who fans have been wanting complete season box sets of the classic series. However, due to various reasons, most of them I do believe varying to profit and things like that, we've not actually seen any box sets up until 2018. And this year is finally the year that we've almost got this test the water box set to see if this one sells, then we might see more in the future. And they've gone with one of the most iconic classic seasons of Doctor Who, featuring the return of the Sontarans, the Cybermen, and the Daleks, because that kind of makes sense. Because let's face it, if any seasons are to sell, it's probably going to be one with Tom Baker in, and it's probably going to be this one because it is pretty much one of the most iconic classic seasons of Doctor Who of all time. So this product is available from various different retailers. I got mine from HMV for around £35 because I have the pure HMV card, so I got some points with it as well, which was quite handy. It is also available on Amazon. I do believe probably Forbidden Planet will get it in at some point as well. This is going to be a rather popular release. I do believe that it's limited edition, and this current version in this rather lovely cardboard case I do believe is only available in the UK. The American version is basically just a standard Blu-ray case. So always, if you like what you see in this review, I definitely recommend checking out this product because it is pretty stunning. I'm going to get it out there straight away. I got the original DVD files versions, so I didn't have the special features of any of these releases. I've seen them all before, all of these episodes. However, I finally thought that this was the time to cave into the actual BBC DVD releases, and it was definitely worth it for the price because this is such a great box set, really high quality with some lovely special features on there as well. This review isn't going to be episode reviews of each individual release. I'm going to briefly touch on each story and what I think of it because I have rewatched it in preparation for this review, and I'm going to be going over the special features as well in a little bit of detail to show you what you actually get for the money on this product. Taking a look at the packaging, as you can see, we have a little bit of a steelbook format at the bottom here where we have this cardboard slipcase that runs onto the very back. At the bottom we get the BBC and Doctor Who logo. This is the new Jodie Whittaker logo, of course, which I do believe has gone under a little bit of editing since the original announcement. It now seems to have a little bit of a glow on it, which definitely makes it stand out a little bit more, gone with the white typeface as opposed to the orange, almost fire sort of ore type version that we've seen on the actual Jodie Whittaker posters. Then we get the collection, Season 12 at the very bottom, along with 12, the age rating, and 6 discs. And then, of course, we have the continuation of the cover art on the front there as well. At the bottom of the release, we do get various bits of DVD information, as per usual, along the barcode, and this rather nice little design of the TARDIS, which you'll see a little bit more of in a higher quality later on. And then, of course, on the back, we do have this rather nice piece of cardboard, because as far as cardboard goes, this is a pretty nice piece of cardboard. It has all of the details on about this release, including at the top the Doctor Who logo, the collection Season 12 once again with build your own Doctor Who archive with this ultimate collector's set, which sort of suggests that there could be more coming out in the future, hopefully if this one sells, which it is looking like it. 4th Doctor's first season, all 20 episodes newly restored for Blu-ray, Robot, the Arkin Space, the Sontaran Experiment, Genesis of the Daleks, and Revenge of the Cybermen. If you are interested about what features are actually on this release, then I definitely recommend pausing now because this gives you all the information you need. Everything in this grey bubble here is all of the new stuff that is on this release, so not including all of the stuff from the previous 2 Entertain DVDs. As it says here at the very bottom, it says special features previously released on DVD include making of documentaries, featurettes, CGI effects, audio commentaries, rare footage, production information, subtitles, and PDF material, and much more. So yeah, I do recommend taking a look at this. I will be going into each of these pieces a little bit later, such as Tom Baker in conversation and behind the sofa, when I go into the special features in more detail. And then, of course, at the very bottom, we do get starring Tom Baker, Elizabeth Sladen, and Ian Marter with Nicholas Courtney, which is a really nice, almost cinematic little detail. I quite like that. Per usual, with pretty much all Blu-ray releases, at the very bottom, we do get all the DVD details that you will need, including the subtitles information, and the feature length being this one, 480 minutes approx. And sides of the box, we do get Season 12, and then the BBC logo printed once again, and then exactly the same for the opposite side as well. And that is pretty much it for what can be sort of deemed as the packaging. As per usual, this normally comes in a little bit of a cellophane wrap in order to protect the product on the inside. And much like the steelbook releases, I do recommend keeping this little bit of cardboard because it does have pretty much the majority of the information on without looking in the booklets. It just makes your viewing a little bit easier. So I'll just pop that over to the side, and this is the actual product itself. And as you can see, it is absolutely gorgeous. Lee Binding has done an absolutely excellent job on this. You have this really high quality image of Tom Baker at the front with the scarf nicely dangling down in the hat. that. He looks rather concerned. What I like about this is they've not gone with the childish grin that we've seen in Robot many times and on a lot of merchandise in the past. It's kind of one of the go-to images of Tom Baker. They've gone with a more obscure one with him looking a little bit more serious, which is a really nice thing because I think that the grin can obviously sometimes put people off Tom Baker because it does just look a little bit too manic and unusual. So as you can see around the sides, we get this rather nice faint design there of the vortex in the background from the theme tune itself, along with a few stars going around the side. This is really nice actually because it fades into the colour of the box. As you can see, we have almost this grey, which makes it look really nice and clean and simple. At the very centre, I do love the way that we have the monsters and villains from season 12 sort of coming out of this rather nice galaxy-like mist. So we do have at the very top the K1 robot there from the first story, the Wirren from the Arkin Space, Sontaran Field Major Steyr from the Sontaran Experiment, and we do get a Skaro Dalek there at the bottom as well from Genesis, and then of course a Cyberman at the side as well. Unusually no Davros. I expected he may have been a part of the cover considering he's quite an iconic villain, but hey, it still looks cool without him being on there. Screwdriver at the very bottom with this rather nice almost spacious glow there with a few stars and things at the very bottom, almost like a galaxy. So yeah, this is really nice and stylish, and I think that once these are all together I could imagine different variations of the Doctor from his different seasons, and when these are all put together in a line it will look incredibly satisfying, and I hope that that will eventually one day come true. Spine of the release now, get the Blu-ray logo at the very top along with a smaller image of Tom Baker, which once again this will look really nice if we do have more releases and they can all go together in a rather nice satisfying looking line. Then we get the Jodie Whittaker logo once again in a black format, this time with the collection and season 12 and the BBC logo in the corner, and then pretty much exactly the same for the opposite side as well. On the back of the box you do get this rather nice CGI 3D model of the TARDIS that has been done by Jonathan Pickard. Now this is a really nice feature, even though the TARDIS doesn't really feature that much throughout season 12, because we of course have the adventures of the Nerva Beacon and them travelling using the time ring. Then we of course have once again the vortex coming around the side with a few various diamond logos coming around the side as well. Once again, really nicely fading into the grey design of the box. Now inside of the release now, it does open up rather nicely with ease, much like a book, and we do have the vortex once again continuing on the inside. So I love this idea of the theme sort of starting off on the outside and then coming into the inside and having the TARDIS there in the vortex. As you can see, once again, I assume this has been made by Jonathan, this 3D art, but it looks absolutely stunning. The TARDIS there with all the different colours running around the side, and the grey really nicely complements the vortex design as well. Then of course at the opposite side we do have the various different discs, which I will be going on to in a little bit. However, at the very back of the box we do have the bonus disc, which when you remove this, we do in fact have Tom Baker's face there from the actual title sequence, nicely simmering away behind the disc, once again with the vortex art in the background, which is a really cool feature, and I hope that this is a continued design for the later seasons that are released as well. What's really nice about this is it in fact opens up. If this wasn't exciting enough, we have a little bit of Velcro on here that really nicely fastens it, making it very secure. Then we have this lovely image of the 4th Doctor, Sarah Jane and Harry Sullivan on the front there, which I'll show you in a little bit more detail in a bit because it is on the booklet. And then we have this rather exciting design of the TARDIS. So I love the way that we almost open it there, almost go through the TARDIS doors to actually have the interior on the inside. A really lovely design. Console on the walls, really nicely illuminated. A really stunning piece. Once again, even though we didn't in fact see the interior of the TARDIS throughout season 12, it is still a really nice little feature, and I hope this continues throughout the later box sets as well. To the season 12 booklet now, I really do like the addition of this because it makes looking through all the special features a lot more easy, and it gives you a little bit of a guide of how to actually watch this release. So as you can see at the very front, we once again get this rather nice image of Tom Baker there holding the time ring, along with Sarah Jane looking rather confused at the side, and Harry Sullivan looking once again rather aware of his surroundings, much like how he did throughout the majority of season 12. And then what I really like is once again we have the different enemies of the season actually blended into the design here on the sides. We have the Daleks there, of the K1 robot at the top, the Wirren there as well, and then the Sideman at the very side. And I love this almost sort of spark design, the way that we have these different bits of space running around them, almost like rubble or something like that. And then of course Doctor Who season 12 at the very bottom. On the very back of this we get Best Wishes Tom Baker, a little BBC Polaroid back in the 1970s, which is a rather cool little feature. Start off with this really nice black and white photo of the main protagonists in the series on Bessie, which I do believe is probably taken from a photo shoot, along some quotes along the side. Here we go again, which is a little bit of an introductory to the first season with Tom Baker as the Doctor, and then we move on to Robot in the first story. Now, we have a few special features listed along the side, which I'll go on to in a second, but what is really nice to see is we also have this continuation of this really nice graphic art there of the Fourth Doctor and Sarah in Bessie, along with the K1 robot increasing in size a lot. Continues onto the next page as well. We have a few more telesnaps from the episode and go into a bit more detail about Robot, along with how the episode was recorded, the reception of the episode, and the after image. And I think that the thing that I like most about Robot is the fact that it's quite obviously set in the Third Doctor's era, which I think is definitely something that the production team needed to do at the time, because of course we have this Doctor that has been pretty much bound to Earth for the majority of his previous incarnations. So I kind of feel like this is almost a goodbye to that format. We have this new Doctor stepping into John Pertwee's shoes, and it is essentially him kind of going, well, I'm going now, I don't want to do this anymore. And there is several points in this story where the Fourth Doctor in fact pretty much decides to just get up and leave, and at one point even decides to nearly leave behind Sarah. And I think that this is a great story to do that, because it's kind of the opening and the ending of a new era at the same time. Of course, taking a look at these special features, we do have the normal stuff on there, being the audio commentary from the original DVD. We also have the production titles as per usual, and the making of documentary, this one being called Our Friends Electric, and that's pretty much your behind the scenes to the story, how they made it, which was once again a really interesting listen. I think that I've never actually seen the behind the scenes for the majority of the classic stories because of getting DVD files, so it is really nice to have that input and actually see how they created the stories, along with a few interviews with several people in the production team as well, along with Philip Hinchcliffe. We move on to television drama, which I don't know if this is actually a brand new section, but I feel like it might be, but it's basically a piece of footage from a documentary, which was essentially the read-through for Robot, which was a completely audio sort of taken out piece, and it was narrated over the top. And yeah, it was really interesting to see all of the actors in the actual read-through, not in costumes, just sort of reacting to the script for the first time. There's also your average stuff on there as well, including the location footage, the title sequence footage, a documentary about the Target novels, which was a rather interesting watch, because I do quite like the design of the Target novels, and it was interesting to see how the team behind those actually recreated those in the early stages before they were kind of successful, so that was a rather nice educational piece. There's also the standard stuff on there as well, including the coming soon for the Arkin Space DVD, the photo gallery, along with the written archive, which I do believe is the PDF format stuff that you can download if you stick it into a computer or something like that. And also something that I really like is the original BBC One continuity announcements. I don't know why, but I just love actually seeing the posh voice from 1970s BBC announcing Doctor Who. It's quite a fun little behind the scenes thing. And the scenes for Robot, which is the behind the sofa newly filmed piece for 2018, which is the same for the majority of the episodes on this release. So you have Tom Baker, Sadie Miller, of course Sarah Jane, or Elizabeth Sladen's daughter, even Philip Hinchcliffe. Then you also have Louise Jameson, who of course played Leela, and then you also have Janet Fielding and Sarah Sutton in there as well, reacting to each episode. And it is really interesting to see how they react to them, especially Tom Baker and Philip Hinchcliffe, considering that they had a very big part in the production, of course. And it is the same for every single release, and I do love the consistency running all the way throughout, actually having those almost Gogglebox style reactions to classic stories. Yeah, that is a really nice addition, and I'm glad that they refilmed stuff for this, because for the people that actually got the original to entertain DVDs, this is kind of a new nice bonus feature. For the second disc now, we do have the Arkin Space, once again with exactly the same layout. We do have the episode details at the very top, such as it being story code 4C, broadcast between the 25th of January 1975 and the 15th of February, written by Robert Holmes, produced by Philip Hinchcliffe and directed by Rodney Bennett, along with a few of the details there for the special features, an image of the Nerva beacon, and then we go into a little bit of information about the story as well, for the development, the recording, and then this continues onto the opposite page as well with the reception and after image. We also get this absolutely beautiful image of the Fourth Doctor encountering the Wirrin in the story as well, with the Nerva beacon and the Earth in the background, which looks incredibly brilliant. Honestly, I think that Lee Binding has done an excellent job on this, showing that each page once again has a great attention to detail, with different images really selling each story. Arkin Space now, of course, the Fourth Doctor's first adventure into space. It is quite an iconic one because of the iconic bubble wrap monster story, and I'm sure you've all seen the Arkin Space at some point in your Doctor Who watching, because I feel it's one of those episodes that everybody stumbles across at some point, and this is one of those ones where I really love the setting for it. I think the Nerva beacon is a brilliant layout. I love the studio design for that, a very inspired set, including all of the people actually in sort of these stasis chambers, and the Wirren themselves are also a really interesting villain. I think that the whole idea of them essentially implanting the seeds in the people's body and actually them essentially being the eggs, I find that really sort of quite gruesome for Doctor Who, if you actually think about it quite a lot, which I know that the story does actually shy away from. And the special features, once again, for this story, you do have some of your basic stuff in there, so the audio commentary by Tom Baker, Elizabeth Sladen and Philip Hinchcliffe, also the surround sound as well, the optional production subtitles, and the updated effects, which I do believe were on the special edition. I actually chosen to watch it with the new effects added on, just because I've not seen it with the new effects before, and yeah, they are rather impressive. You can quite obviously tell they weren't made in the 1970s, and it does offer a new sort of orientation of the story, which I quite like. If you're somebody that is into sort of more newer special effects, then this is definitely a feature that you will enjoy. The making of documentary from the original DVD called A New Frontier, also Behind the Sofa, once again with the same people from the Robot release, which is really nice. The Arkin Space Omnibus, which is 70 minutes long, which I didn't watch because I watched the actual normal story, model and CGI footage, along with the 3D technical schematics, which is all the new stuff from the new special effects that have been added on, no doubt also available on the special edition DVD of the Arkin Space that was released some years ago now. The BBC One trailer for the Arkin Space, which I do quite like, and also an interview with Roger Murray Leach, who is the person that did the set design for this story, and your standard photo gallery, and the written archive, which is once again some PDF material for this episode. So the next page we have the Sontaran Experiment, once again with the story details at the very top, such as it written by Bob Baker and Dave Martin. We have a few details about the special features in the bottom, along with a few telesnaps from the story, with the development, the recording, as well as on the next page a little bit about the reception and the after image, once again with some rather nice images of Steyr. Then we also have Sarah Jane there with the robot from the story, along with a few more stills of the behind the scenes, including the creation of the mask there. I think that this story often gets the reputation for being the weak one of the series. It is only 2 episodes long, and it is quite a nice return for the Sontarans. I must admit, it is nice to have this episode. It is on location. I do believe that it is the first ever story to be completely on location, which is rather interesting. It's filmed on Dartmoor. And yeah, the return of the Sontarans, don't get me wrong, it wasn't the best story in the world, but I still think I like the idea of having the context of coming down from Nova Beacon and seeing the Earth after sort of the solar flares and all that, and people have evacuated everything. And I feel that that theme running throughout the whole of season 12 is a really nice feature, something of which that you do lose if you actually watch these stories out of order, which I found was a really nice novelty of watching the entirety of series 12 in broadcast order, something that I've never done for classic Doctor Who before. But it was a surprisingly nice watch, actually having that journey, seeing the sort of the relationships of the companions develop. And as per usual for the special features, you get the normal stuff: audio commentary, subtitles, making of documentary called Like Nothing on Earth, the Behind the Sofa, once again 2018 filmed sort of Gogglebox style piece, location report, which was a bit of radio footage of Tom Baker being interviewed, on Target, which was a thing about Ian Marter's contribution, of course, who plays Harry Sullivan, to the Target novelisations. But for war, a little bit of information about the Sontarans in the documentary, as per usual, a photo gallery, written archive, as well as the Tom Baker years, parts 1 and 2, last ever seen on the 1991 VHS release. I know that a lot of people are excited to see that on, so yeah, a really nice little feature about the Tom Baker years and sort of interviewing different people from his era. Disc 4, we have the infamous genesis of the Daleks, once again with a little bit of information about the story, along with the special features written by Terry Nation. A nice image of the Behind the Sofa special feature at the bottom there, and Davros encountering the Doctor, having their rather nice little conversation. And this continues on the next page as well, with a few rather nice telesnaps of Terry Nation and the 4th Doctor grinning away. We get this illustration of the 4th Doctor and Davros, with him trying to stop his life support with a few of the Daleks. They're firing away in the background, which is a really nice little feature. This of the Daleks is pretty much the #1 episode for Doctor Who. It was voted the #1 episode for many, many years on the trot, and for within good reason. It is a very good story, of course, the very starting of the Daleks, and it's kind of Davros' story as well. And I must admit, I made the mistake on first viewing for this box set to, in fact, watch the omnibus version, because I've never seen it before, and I actually regretted that, because I think that it has something that just loses certain parts of the story, such as the moment with the clam, which I know is something that a lot of people were sad that they took that out. But that was once again a part of a 1975, I do believe, Christmas television decided to air Genesis of the Daleks as a whole omnibus back on Christmas that year. So yeah, a nice little feature that they've added on once again in case you like the omnibus format. So as per usual for the special features, audio commentary, surround sound, which is a nice feature for sort of the more updated listeners, optional 2018 production titles, which is a nice edit, making of documentary, being the genesis of a classic, sort of going into the making of Genesis of the Daleks. It's Behind the Sofa, once again, for Genesis of the Daleks. Really interesting to see the companions, especially in Louise Jameson and Janet Fielding, actually discuss the Daleks and the way they've changed throughout the years, which is rather fun. And of course, Louise Jameson, who never met the Daleks within the actual TV show itself. Once again, continuity announcements, which I really love the way that those were actually used for many years. In fact, Genesis of the Daleks had many airings on television over the years, so it's nice to see the different BBC continuity announcements throughout the years. Once again, the same novelty as the robot release for that. And then moving on to the other stuff, you have Blue Peter, the March 1975 collection of Doctor Who models, which was a rather interesting piece of footage. Never seen that before, a rather obscure bit of Doctor Who stuff. Written archive, once again, photo gallery, live from the TV canteen, which is a bit of a radio piece, and once again, the Genesis of the Daleks omnibus, which isn't available on this disc. It is in fact available on the disc 6, which is the bonus disc, which once again I suppose is a nice thing if you like the omnibus format. Moving on to disc 5 now, we of course get Revenge of the Cybermen with a few details about the story, as well as the different special feature details listed around the side along with the development of the story, and once again a lovely piece of art there with the Cyber Leader and the 4th Doctor, really nicely done by Lee Binding. Continues onto the next page as well with a little bit of after image and reception for the Revenge of the Cybermen. And Revenge of the Cybermen is once again, I feel like this episode gets the reputation for being a little bit of the dud one, because we of course have the reuse of the set of the Nerva Beacon, however many years before the Arkin Space itself, so it is a little bit more sort of historical Nerva Beacon, and it is a little bit altered in design. And yeah, for the return of the Cybermen after many years, of course, from being absent in the 3rd Doctor era, I did expect a little bit more. I've seen Revenge of the Cybermen before, so I did kind of, well, I've seen all of these episodes before buying this release, to be honest, and I did know that this episode was quite a weak one. I like the designs of the Cybermen. I think that they're quite cool. Of course, the actual voice of them is a little bit weak. They're not really changed that much whatsoever. It is almost your standard human voice, sounding a little bit echoey in the helmet. So I do think, yeah, it may be one of the weaker Cyberman stories. Certainly probably one of the weakest so far throughout classic series Doctor Who, because the 60s had a very good job of creating these Cyberman stories. The Invasion, Tomb of the Cybermen are very iconic episodes for when it comes to the Cybermen's history. So taking a look at these special features, once again, audio commentary, 2018 production subtitles. We also have the updated effects, which I do believe is a new feature. I think it might be. I see, once again, much like the Arkin Space, the updated features of the Nerva Beacon. It does look very nice on display in case you're somebody that likes the modern effects. Once again, making of documentary that has been expanded for the 2018 viewing, so I do believe that that is brand new footage that's been added onto the original making of documentary, which is a nice feature. It does mean that it's a little bit longer, meaning you get more for the money, which is good. I do like that. Behind the sofa, once again, Revenge of the Cybermen, going into the sort of goggle box format to see the different cast members reflecting on the actual series. Lies and videotapes, which is basically a really interesting around 30-minute documentary, I would say probably a bit longer actually, about into how the classic series was aired on TV and then never really aired again. And for those people that wanted to relive the stories, the closest way that they could do that was by reading the target novelizations. And we have sort of this almost black market of people having recordings of the VHS stories that have been sort of circulated around the world, and we have a few repeats in Australia and things like that. It was a really interesting documentary actually, written by Nicholas Pegg, and yeah, I highly recommend watching it in fact, because I've never seen it before and I found it really interesting to see how the classic fans actually had quite a struggle in getting even just repeats of stories. Today is something that we take for granted. We can literally go into BBC iPlayer currently and watch Doctor Who. You can also see it on various probably dodgy websites. Netflix has it. You can get the VHS, you can get the DVDs, you can get the audio television soundtrack versions, location footage, report, photo gallery, and the written archive once again, which are two really nice additional features. Then we go on to the final page, which is bonus material, highlighting everything that is brand new on this release, including the Tom Baker in Conversation Season 12, along with a few credits at the bottom as well. Different talented people did work on this release, along with the Arkin Space CGI by Mike Tucker and Sainton Clark, and then the Revenge of the Cybermen CGI by Neil Bushnell, and a lot of other people that I've also mentioned throughout this review as well. Finally, moving on to the bonus disc that of course has absolutely no episodes on whatsoever. Now I do believe that this is the main disc that has the majority of the brand new stuff on. The majority of the people who got the original 2 under 10 DVDs will probably be buying this release for, and to be honest, I recommend buying this release anyway. I absolutely loved it. I think that if you're somebody like me who got the DVD files versions and don't have the special features, this is such a brilliant buy for you. Such a lovely presentation that I think that even if you got the original versions, it's just nice to have it in this new format. Lee Binding has done an excellent job, as you've seen in the actual design of the cover. But yeah, taking a look at the bonus material, we have Tom Baker in Conversation Edition, which is with Matthew Sweet, and is a 1-hour interview piece with Tom Baker, which was filmed this year, and I absolutely loved it. Considering that I've just recently met Tom Baker, I think that it was really interesting to see him on screen again. Matthew Sweet does an incredible job. I love the intro. It feels very modern, the way that he says, Tom Baker, he's an iconic Doctor, and we have a few various scenes throughout his time as the Doctor in the very opening sequence. I think that it's very modern. I just love the way that it's been done. Once again, a lot of care has gone into the production of it, and I think that Matthew Sweet does a great job of actually not asking the most obvious questions in the world and going into how Doctor Who affected him as a person and kind of how he changed career from being somebody that worked on a building site needing a job to being essentially one of the biggest figureheads in British television in the 1970s. And yeah, it is really interesting, and yeah, a very highly recommended listen. No doubt I don't need to say that because the majority of people will be buying this release for that 1-hour documentary alone. Then we also have a few other features on there as well. The Doctor Who Times for season 12, which basically goes into the media and the newspapers of 1975. This is how Doctor Who's reflected in the media at the time, which is a really interesting watch once again. Sort of very graphic in design. I do quite like that, and the way that we have papers floating everywhere and how it actually looked and was presented in newspapers at the time in the 1970s. We have the omnibus of Genesis of the Daleks on there, which is a nice feature if you've not seen that. Yeah, of course, aired on 1975 Christmas around that time. Then we also have the season 12 studio clocks, a really nice little feature behind the scenes, actually going into the behind the scenes countdown of the way they edited it together, which is rather nice. And then once again, the PDF promotional archive, which just has your same stuff on there, including the Weetabix, Nestle Wars promotional tie-in, season 12 BBC Enterprise sales documents, 1976 Doctor Who annual release for the Christmas 1975s, and all other in PDFs as well. And no doubt if you are an obscure Doctor Who fan that likes sort of boxes of the Weetabix stuff, then you will no doubt probably like that, which I know there is probably quite a obscure audience out there that will no doubt very much enjoy that. One thing that I nearly forgot to mention as well, possibly one of the key things about this release, is the fact that it's Blu-ray. I always normally forget that because I just kind of take the quality for granted, and I must say I think that the quality is quite good. From what I can recall from watching the DVD files versions quite a while ago, along with the other versions like the 2010 Genesis of the Daleks release from a few years back, I do think it is a higher quality. I think that they've cleaned it up quite nicely. It's sort of a similar treatment that Enemy of the World had, probably, because that was a really clean episode considering how long that's been missing for, and they did a really good job of restoring that. It's obviously not proper HD. It doesn't look cinematic unlike actual TV today, because that can't be helped, because it is 1970s BBC TV, so quite decent high quality. They're definitely watchable. I would say that they're definitely probably an improvement from the other versions as well, but of technical stuff, of like the different points, I don't know, in the way that they've changed it and the contrast, I'll just sort of say it's better. I don't really know how much better. I don't know if it is properly better, but to me, it looked better. Therefore, I think it's worth buying this because, you know, it's worth it. But that said, I think that if you're planning on buying this release expecting the most highest quality effects, cinematic directing, and the most 21st century sort of looking TV show, then this is definitely not a box set for you. As it is a minor little thing that I know a few people probably aren't even that bothered about, but I do like that they decided to go with this way to store the DVDs, because it just makes flicking through these so much more easier. I do like the steelbooks, but I find just having the CDs and DVDs on top of each other, and you need to take different ones out to get other ones, and if you've got one at the very bottom, it's just a little bit of a pain. Discs now, they have stylized these to be more up to date with the actual box, so the logo is consistent throughout, which is a really nice little detail. So as you can see, they've gone with this rather nice purple design. We have the 4th Doctor and the K1 robot on the first one. Then we get the Arkin Space with this rather grim image of the guy from the story being took over gradually by the Wirren, with the Wirren sort of looking over there in the corner. Then we get the Sontaran Experiment with Harry and Sarah and Steyer in the corner there, once again in a purple design. Genesis of the Daleks with Davros rather nicely looking on a side profile, looking rather menacing along the Daleks at the side there as well. Revenge of the Cybermen with 3 Cybermen around the side. And then finally we have the bonus disc, once again with a rather nice 3D design of the TARDIS in there as well, even though it wasn't really seen much throughout this season. I still quite like it. Looks quite cool. So overall, for the Doctor Who complete season 12 4th Doctor box set, I think that this is honestly probably one of the best products to be released in quite a long time. I think that this is an absolutely brilliant product. To start off with, the design is absolutely amazing. I feel like a lot of care has gone to each individual disc and putting the different characters on there. I love the design of the booklet. You can tell each individual page has unique little designs on and unique illustrations, and then the actual box itself is so nice, so simplistic, so fit for the 21st century, as well as it looks modern and it doesn't look out of place on display with actual 21st century releases. Considering that is a 1970s TV program right there, that is quite a big achievement, and I think that Lee Binding has done an absolutely stunning job on this, and even to the extent on the inside where you have the TARDIS and it folds out and you can put the booklet on the inside, it's just quite perfect and quite stunning. And for that alone, I do recommend this, because if you're like me, then you probably like pretty pieces of cardboard, and as far as cardboard goes, this is some damn pretty cardboard indeed. But yeah, I do think that from the perspective of somebody that has the To Entertain DVD releases, yes, quite a lot of the special features you do have already, such as the making of documentaries and all of that stuff. However, there is also quite a lot of different features available on this as well that are brand new, such as the Tom Baker in Conversation 1-hour documentary piece, and the behind the sofa Gogglebox style reaction video type thing, the new making of documentaries as well that have been extended, then also the edited effects along with the omnibus version of Genesis of the Daleks, Baker year's release that hasn't been seen since the VHS release back in 1991. So it does have a lot to offer, even if you have the To Entertain versions. But the big massive benefit for me buying this is the fact that I didn't even have those. I had the DVD files ones that had absolutely no special features on whatsoever. So if anything, probably people like me who don't have the special features or may not even own the actual stories on DVD, perhaps you've been watching the Doctor Who Twitch marathon recently and want to kind of cave and own physical Doctor Who for yourself from the classic era, then this is definitely a good way to start. And I feel like by buying this product, you are going to increase the chance of more seasons being released in the future. So £39 to £50 depending on where you can buy this from. I do recommend it. It may be on the expensive side, and the packaging itself is probably worth it alone, because honestly I've been looking at this for about a good week and it is pretty stunning, as you can tell. So yeah, I do recommend this definitely, as it is probably one of the best products in quite a long time, but it is still on the pricey side, but to me it's definitely worth it. I'm actually quite surprised to see how shockingly well this season benefits in the marathoning format, because I felt like watching 20 whole episodes of classic series Doctor Who essentially within 1 week would take its toll on me. I feel like it would take quite a long time, but it turns out that you really get used to the relationships of the characters developing, and I think that this season especially has something about it that just feels quite cinematic, and the actual companions and the relationship of the Doctor probably benefit the watch value of this as well. So yeah, I'm not expecting this high quality in the future from the other seasons, because as I said, this is a pretty high quality season as it is, but I still think that the hope in this box set and sort of breathing new life into classic series Doctor Who and actually giving you a whole new way to watch it, really nice experience, and something of which that I wouldn't have really gone back and done if it wasn't for the release of this box set. Thanks for watching this review. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have any questions about this release, then please do leave them in the description below and I will reply to them at some point in the near future. I hope you've enjoyed the review, and hopefully I will see you all in maybe a few months for another complete season box set review, if this one hopefully sells well and we'll get more, and inevitably I'll end up with absolutely zero money whatsoever, because I will be guaranteed to be buying the next one if it looks anything like this. Thanks for watching this video, and I shall see you all next time. Bye for now.